What's up, everybody? Welcome to the video. We're here breaking down the YellaWood 500 at Talladega Super Speedway for Sunday, October 6th around 2 p.m. Eastern. And we are going Super Speedway racing once again in the NASCAR playoffs, so we should have an exciting race, or at least let's hope so. We know these fuel savings at Super Speedways can sometimes ruin the race a little bit, but I'm just going to be hoping for the best here. But anyway, if this happens to be your first time here, which I highly doubt at this point of the season, but what's up? My name is Pennell. I break down NASCAR and NFL DFS each and every single week on this channel. You can check out the NFL videos that I post every single Tuesday and Saturday if you are interested. And really quick, I do have to shout out last week's comment contest winner, Max, who was the closest to Christopher Bell's laps led. If you want to join this week, all you gotta do is comment down below who you think is gonna lead the most laps and how many, and the winner will get a cash prize. And if you enjoy, make sure you leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel if you're brand new, and let's dive right into it. All right, let's talk some strategy here for Talladega, because it's slightly different from Atlanta, and it's also different from Daytona. So for Daytona is just strictly stack the back because there's going to be a big one. Sometimes there's multiple, and all these junkers in the back end up being solid plays. We just saw that, I don't know how long ago it was, like a month or two, where, I mean, all the drivers that are in the back with no names, they just end up coming through. Harrison Burton wins the race. I mean, that's just classic Daytona. Atlanta is a bit different. We usually see somebody out front that you'd expect to be out front, can dominate and control the race. And, I mean, we saw Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Daniel Suarez, those guys that have shown success at Atlanta before, they're all end up there. So Talladega can be a bit different. Obviously, the big one is certainly possible. It's not a given like it is at Daytona. We have seen at times where it can run a bit clean, and then there's like a minor wreck at the very end. Obviously, guys are still jockeying for position. This is a playoff race, so tensions will be high, but we don't even need the big one for the place differential plays to work out. Now, if you're playing guys like BJ McLeod, I still have to look at the entry list, but I know BJ McLeod is in it. Like, these guys typically would need a big one for them to pay out, but I mean, if we have decent drivers starting in the 30s and 20s, like, they don't need wrecks for this to end up working out. Now, my roster construction is going to be different. So for Daytona, I usually go 0 to 2 drivers in the top 12, 0 to 3 drivers inside the top 24, and then I usually do 3 to 6 drivers from 25th on back. At Talladega, I'm not going to have those specific rules because we have seen times where we have multiple drivers starting into the top 10 or in the top 15. They can be optimal. We can see drivers survive a bit easier here and control the race. Like, it would not surprise me at all if we see Team Penske. Like, let's say Joey Logano started 7th, Ryan Blaney started 14th. I would much rather play them here at Talladega than I would at Daytona, because if Logano starting 7th at Daytona, I typically would just probably play 0%. But at a track like Talladega, I do up my exposure for good drivers starting near the front. So it's still kind of a stack the back mentality, but we're definitely creeping closer to the front. It's going to depend on how qualifying plays out anyway, and we're still not really caring about dominator points too much. And finally, moving on to the driver by driver breakdown, to mention one thing first, and as of course, if you want to join the best NASCAR and NFL DFS community out there, link is down in the description or the pinned comment. For that, you get access to all the projections for DraftKings and FanDuel, optimizer, ownership projections, the simulations, the betting sheets, and all that good stuff. And don't forget, I'm a partner of Stochastic, and they did launch their Sims tool this season specifically for NASCAR here, but they do have other sports, including NFL, which a lot of you have signed up for. You can sim the slate before it happens, and you can see which drivers or players offer the best ROI before the race or game starts. You can see which lineups stack up the best in tournaments, and they have it for all sports. If you want to check it out, make sure you use the link down in the description and tell them I sent you. All right, guys, it's the next day, and qualifying just concluded a few moments ago, so we're going to be running through the slate together for the first time. But these Super Series slates are not that difficult to break down because it really all just comes down to starting positions for the most part. Now, at Talladega, driver skill at these Super Speedways kind of shines a little bit more than it would at a track like Daytona. So we'll kind of break that down. But there's no practice to go through. Obviously, we don't practice at Super Speedways, so just strictly qualifying. And we'll start with the 9K range up first. Only one driver in the 10K range this week. And based off how they qualified, they're all kind of close to each other. So there's really not going to be too much to differentiate these drivers from one another. Obviously, Ryan Blaney has been the best driver at Talladega since Next Gen Era. If we're looking at this 5-race sample size here for everybody, 3 top 5s, which leads all drivers, has the most dominator points, is the best average finish, one of the best average running positions. Like, yeah, Ryan Blaney should be awesome here outside of any wrecks, which is always possible. So that's why no one is a guarantee. Now, if this was Daytona, I would have absolutely zero interest in any of these drivers starting inside the top 10. So I would say no Denny Hamlin, Logano, Blaney. But with this being Talladega, I would be more inclined to play them. Now, the issue is we have guys like Keselowski, Elliott, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Larson, who all have similar upside, and they start a little bit further back. So it's going to be hard for me to get to too much of drivers like Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano, but they are going to be in the player pool. Keselowski and Elliott, with them starting further back, I mean, they have similar upside. They can certainly win this race. Elliott's been awesome here at Talladega, 3 top 10s, has a win as well. Like, no reason not to like these guys. So I will be heavier on them compared to the 2 Penske drivers almost inside the top 5. William Byron's right there with him. He has also been really good at super speedways. Kyle Larson, I think the ownership might be the lowest on him of all drivers in this group. And that's just because he has such a bad stigma here at these super speedways, but he runs well. Like the finishes aren't there because he gets caught up in wrecks every single time, like just extremely poor luck. But like Martin Truex Jr. has terrible luck this year, finally got a good race last week. This could be a good Kyle Larson week just to get on him with lower ownership. Like if we're looking at the average running position at Talladega since next gen started, Larson has a better average running position than Ryan Blaney, better than William Byron, only behind Chase Elliott. That is it. So Larson should be running well. It's just a matter of if he gets caught up in a wreck or not. So starting in 12th, if he finishes like 3rd or 2nd, maybe, just maybe he wins the race. I want some of that at lower ownership. So I will be playing some Kyle Larson. It's not going to be like a crazy amount, but like it should be somewhat close to guys like Elliott and Keselowski. Denny Hamlin, he's in that Blaney and Logano pool, but those two have definitely been a lot better than Denny at super speedways since next gen. But specifically at Talladega, Hamlin does have 2 top 5 finishes, which has not been too bad. Finished in the top 3, I believe, in this race last year. Tyler Reddick starting in 14th, won the most recent Talladega race after Michael McDowell went kamikaze on the field on the final turn, trying to block a couple of lanes. Obviously, that did not work out, and Tyler Reddick was the benefactor of that. I believe he was in the lane close to the wall when that happened. But when we're starting in 14th, like he's all right. I would rather play guys like Byron, Elliott, Keselowski personally, but he's in the pool as a potential race winner. But I'm not overly excited about Reddick. Kyle Busch, one of the best drivers at super speedways since joining RCR, but starting in 4th, you basically just have to win the race. Chris Buescher, Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, all guys that have top 10 potential. I will have a lot of exposure to these 3 for sure. Austin Cindric, another guy that has to win the race to be optimal. And even then, if you start inside the top 3 and you win the race, you're still not guaranteed to be optimal. It just depends on how many laps you lead and what these place differential drivers end up doing. So like for Michael McDowell down here, he's starting on the pole. There's not much upside whatsoever, and there's all the downside in the world. Like if we're looking at the heat map, I always bring this up at super speedways, but it's just the best way to look at it. Like Michael McDowell, excluding dominator points, if he wins, he gets 45 points. If he wrecks out first, he gets minus 38. If he has a mid race where he finishes 20th, you get 4 points. Meanwhile, if we look down here, like Eric Jones, I think he's starting 30th actually, like 30th exactly. If he has a mid race, he's getting us at least around 30 points. If he happen to finish top 5, we're getting 60 plus points, potentially 70. And if he happens to be one of the first guys that wrecks out, we're still getting close to minus 5, minus 10 points. So there's just really not much reason to risk it up here. Like the juice just really isn't worth the squeeze because there's just not that much upside and there's all the downside in the world. So that's the way I play super speedways. I tend to do pretty well with these. Obviously, there can be some hit or miss weeks for sure. And Michael McDowell could win this race. He almost won the Talladega race starting in the pole, and that would not have been great. But even then, if you do that, like let's just say he wins and with the amount of laps led, he gets 50 some points. There's a lot of guys in the field that can get 50 plus points without winning the race. So even then, it's not like it's a guarantee. Christopher Bell, Martin Truex Jr., very similar plays, but if you start 20th on back, you're basically in the player pool. I mean, these guys could obviously just finish top 15. They're decent plays. I mean, is what it is. Alex Bowman is right there with him. All the Hendrick cars should run well in this race. Ty Gibbs is kind of in a dead zone for me. I can't imagine I'll be going my way to play Ty Gibbs. Just average finish of 31st here in 4 races, running position of 22nd. No top 20s to show for it. Could that easily change? Yes, a lot of luck in these races, but starting at 15th, it's not like there's a ton of upside. And there's a lot of good plays in this range, like Truex and Bowman, solid plays. And then you have straight 30s here with Daniel Suarez, Chase Briscoe, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I know Ricky can be a bit records or checkers, but the top 5 upside is there. All these drivers could finish top 10. No one will blink an eye here at Talladega. And when you start in the 30s, yeah, makes sense for cash games. It makes sense to be overweight in tournaments, in my opinion. So plenty of interest there. Noah Gragson, great race in the spring, starting in 22nd, makes it a bit difficult. You have a 4 race sample size here. Average running position roughly around 15th with 3 top 20s. Like if he doesn't wreck, he'll probably finish around 15th, but like not a ton of upside there. Austin Dillon offers us no upside whatsoever. Justin Haley, it's a new ride this week, but the Spire cars, we've seen it with Corey LaJoie. I mean, Corey LaJoie is awesome at super speedway, so there should be no concern there. Haley's a good super speedway driver. 5 races here at Talladega in the top 24 out of 5 times in 3 top 15s. Gilliland, I mean, front row is just cracked out at qualifying at super speedway, so it makes them pretty much unplayable these days, unfortunately, because I would love to play Todd Gilliland in this race, but you just can't do it starting in 3rd. Does have 3 top 10s here in 5 races, but I mean, again, there's just no upside here. Ryan Preece and Josh Baer, we'll group them together, like the same plays. They're fringe plays. Like if I'm doing 150 to 20 max, I'll be like 5-10% on them. There's just not a lot to love. I'd rather play Dinger starting in 25th personally. I would much rather play Eric Jones, who looks like one of my favorite plays on the slate. Really good here at Talladega. 5 races in the next gen, 3 top 10s. And I believe in one of the races, he was in the top 10 with a lap to go, ends up getting wrecked out, but he just usually runs very well here at Dega. Carson Hocevar starting at 37th. His strategy has been pretty much just to lay in the back, let some carnage happen, then you pick up your 20 spots at the end. Now, Talladega can be a bit more green, so we'll see how that strategy works if that's what they're going to do again. But starting at 37th, there's really not much downside there whatsoever, so he's a pretty safe play. Harrison Burton's in 9th. Can't really do that. Even I know he's the most recent winner at a super speedway. Well, no, we had Atlanta before or after Daytona, so I guess that's not true. But one of the most recent winners. Daniel Hemrick in the 5K range, starting too high for me. Same with SVG. LaJoy, Nemechek, Zane Smith don't exactly need mass carnage to work out. Zane starting nearly dead last. He's been kind of hot recently. I know that doesn't mean anything for this week, but it's been at least nice to see for that team to have some more speed in their cars. But starting 39th, like, you can only go up, really. You can really only go up. Now, Alfredo, Ware, McLeod, Yaley. Like, if you think this is going to be a wreck fest where half the field gets wrecked out, it makes sense to play a lot of these guys. If you think it goes more green, their upside might get capped around like 25th, which is still not bad. Like, if BJ McLeod finished 25th, you're happy with that result. But from an optimal sense, I'm just not sure it's going to quite get you there. They can still be good plays. You can still cash with them. But if you are playing these bottom 4 drivers, you kind of need a lot of wrecks to work out, usually. But that being said, that's all I got for you guys this week. I know it was a shorter video, but I mean, Talladega, you really can't go too in-depth here. It's just all about starting positions. You need a lot of luck on your side as well. But I wish you all the best this week. If you want to check out all the extra content, you can check it out down below in the pinned comment or the description. But with that being said, that's all I got for you guys this week. I know it was a shorter video, but hard to do too much for a breakdown at Talladega. It really all comes down to the starting positions. And then if you want to try to fade the chalk and get away from that, you play these lower owned plays. That's a really strong way to go, which I think you guys probably get. I don't know if I mentioned that enough, but like if someone's starting right beside each other and one's going to be 30% and the one's going to be 15%, you should be more inclined to be overweight on the guy for that's 15% because there's a lot more leverage to be had. And the plays here, like projection wise, yes, one driver might look a lot better, but projections are not the end all be all to track like this. So you have to be careful. But that's all I got for you guys. I wish you all the best this week. If you want to check out all the extra content, you can. You know where to find it. Post my NFL stuff earlier this morning if you want to check that out. But I wish you all the best. I'll see you all next time.